A Chat with Pat.
Yeah.
So a Chat with Pat. And Pat, you choose someone that you'd like to have a conversation with, and you've got one today.
Yes, I do. And I am really excited because I've had Father Robert McTeigue on my show, Virtuous Life. And so I came across an article in Crisis Magazine saying not even AI can save us now. So I wanted to talk to him about this. It was written in March, the end of March, and tell you a little bit about Father McTeigue. He's written so many great books. He's been on twice on my show. He talked about Real Philosophy for Real People, Tools for Truthful Living. Great book. Just great. And then he also came on to talk about Christendom Lost and Found, Meditations for a Post-Christian Era. So both great books. Father, it's great to have you with us today.
Glad to be of service. Thank you.
And Father, this article, not even AI can save us now. There was a line that jumped out at me that I kind of want you to talk a little bit about. You say, I mention these things to make a point, namely that not even artificial intelligence can find what is not there. So can you tell us what is not there?
Okay. What is not there is the possibility of God blessing us for letting there be a demographic collapse in the church in the United States. I was trying to make a little tongue-in-cheek point.
It was great, yeah.
Because AI is supposed to be able to find everything, but it can't find any justification. God's not going to congratulate us for letting the vines wither. That was my main point, because there's been recent demographic studies that dioceses are closing parishes, religious communities are struggling, baptisms are off, weddings are off, funerals are up, and we need to have a candid conversation. But as we know, institutions and bureaucracies are designed to not have candid conversations. So I was trying to sound the alarm, but in a droll way.
Yeah, I love it. And you mentioned in your article from 1999 to 2022, a yearly number of adult Catholics coming into the church has declined by 58%. Haven't we started to see a real change in that with Gen Z?
Well, I know there's been some promising numbers in Britain, and there's been some promising numbers in France. They don't like to talk about it in France because the younger people coming into the church tend to be more traditionally minded, and apparently, according to the narrative, no one is supposed to like that. But overall, I'd also have to ask the question: if young people come into the church, what are they coming into exactly? Are they coming into St. Typical's, pastored by Father Cheerful, who says, we're a welcoming community, which means we have no standards? So I think we're in a difficult situation, and we're reluctant to admit it. And if we don't admit it, we can't fix it, and God will not bless that.
One of the things I think, and this is something I think I've kind of struggled with, is you talk about like all the programs that have occurred in our church over, the last probably 50 years or so.
Sure.
And yet that did not really have an effect in the sense of growing the church. But you kind of come back to this, the traditional understanding of fasting, prayer, almsgiving as being the heart of what we need to be about. And so how do you kind of start to shift that idea of one program after another to coming back to what it means to really have this personal conversion and living that out in your community?
Well, bureaucrats beget bureaucrats, and disciples beget disciples. And right now, most ordinary people are not interested in what the bureaucrat is offering. So we have to offer something different. People who know that they're sinners, people who know that they can't face God without grace, and people who know that they have a Savior will be inclined to let other people know. And the bureaucratic check the boxes, just get bodies in, get them sacramentalized, and then get them out again after collection, of course. That's not life-giving. Eventually, you run out of people in that scenario, and this is where we are now. One
of the things I noticed, I gave a talk last night to college students, and a number of the questions that came up afterwards were about fasting and fasting as part of healing suffering. How do you approach that, especially with these young people that are really starting to kind of, I think, turn the corner and start to come back?
Well, you say fasting focuses the mind. Mm-hmm. And you begin to realize that you have basic needs that you cannot ignore. And that's true of us not only bodily, but also spiritually as well. And for younger people who are scattered and, everyone talks about social media, crushing their attention span, which is true and so on. Nothing gets you to pay attention like being hungry. Mm. And then you say, all right, that's true for your body. That's true for your souls. Let's put away the distractions and discover that there's a hunger that the distractions have been masking. And then say, good news, there is a remedy for that spiritual hunger. Let me tell you about Christ.
So, Father, what would be your advice to pastors in a parish to, move more toward kind of this personal conversion, prayer, fasting, almsgiving, versus always looking for a new program? It's got to start with the pastor's own conversion. He's got to up his game in terms of preaching. He's got to make sacramental confession more available after he preaches and teaches about it. And, as the Boy Scouts would say, if you want to start a fire, you have to gather kindling. You've got to get a small group of people who are themselves on fire for Christ. And I'm going to mix metaphors. And let that kindling become leaven in the bread. I think that's how you begin to start. It's not some great idea. When I was teaching homiletics, I tell the seminarians, one of the best compliments a preacher can get is when people ask, wow, what the heck got into him? Can I get some of that too? Uh-huh. And sadly, most Catholic preachers don't have that reputation. Yeah, that's very true. You can tell when a pastor is on fire for the Lord. It comes through his homilies, and it is very moving, that's for sure. So I really appreciate your insights here, because I think, again, this is one of the things that I think young Catholics are looking for. Gen Z seems to be more traditional.
Well, we just keep each other in prayer, and we work for the best.
Thank you so much. My guest today was Father Robert McTeigue, written amazing books. I highly recommend Real Philosophy for Real People and Christendom Lost and Found, Meditations for a Post-Christian Era.
Good stuff. Great chat. Man, I love that.
That's a little something we call a chat with Pat.
Yeah.
And I would say that's exactly what we're looking for. Thank you so much, Pat. Appreciate that.